In April of 1937, farmers from 5 states met in Guymon, Oklahoma. The problem in the Dust Bowl is entirely too large for the remaining good farmers to even make a start to cope with, they wrote the government. We must have help, and it's imperative we have help now.
I think it has to be pretty extreme for a group of farmers, very independent-minded, very stubborn, a group that on the whole doesn't like to be meddled with, to say, please come and meddle with us. But at this point, they're into their 6th year of no income, their 5th year of no crops, and they're seeing neighbors' fields blowing into their own. They're seeing enormous clouds of dirt in the air, and they don't know what else to do. And when you don't know what else to do and you're afraid of losing your farm, then you begin to ask for rather more extreme measures than you would have asked for otherwise.
If one man mishandled his land, everybody suffered under these conditions. All it took was 1,000-acre farm blowing dirt badly to disrupt the lives of everybody around him. And if that farm operator actually happened to be living in Amarillo or Denver and only came out on weekends anyway, who did you talk to? There was no authority to stop this sort of process.
The farmers wanted every landowner to be required to leave stubble on harvested fields, and they wanted some way to have abandoned acres planted with cover crops. To do it, they even suggested that martial law be declared.
They wanted the ability to condemn other people's property if they weren't keeping it up. This is hugely antithetical to how way most of these people thought. In some counties, they were granted authority to go out and condemn someone, to slap him in jail if you need be, if he was letting his land blow again. Very authoritarian measure for folks who consider themselves highly individualistic.
When your back is against the wall, all ideology goes out the window. So here is a group of people who are very anti-state, anti-government, who never wanted the government interfering with anything they did or telling them what to do, but who, when the chips are down, are going to ask for the only help they can get, and that's from the federal government.
Eventually, soil conservation districts were established, meant to enforce better farming practices through consensus. At the same time, the government was buying back as much land as it could from dusted-out homesteaders and slowly returning it to permanent grassland. Farmers now got help to buy gasoline for their tractors if they were doing soil erosion work. And in some cases, they even received payments not to grow cash crops at all.
We have got to begin to induce people to plant less. How do you do that? You can't just take their land away from them. So the idea was to pay them not to produce. For the people in the Great Plains, this was a salvation. They could keep their land. They didn't have to go out every fall and plant wheat again. The government would send them a check, and year after year this could go on until better times emerged.
Nobody knew whether any of this would really work or how long it would take. Might be 50 years, might be 70 years. Nobody knew. It's a time period in which the federal government entered agriculture as never before, and it's never left.
Meanwhile, near Dalhart, dunes that had once towered 36 feet above one of Howard Fennell's employees' cars had been tamed in 18 months of painstaking restoration work. The contrast between contoured fields that captured the rain and those farmed the old way was striking. With such tangible results, more and more farmers decided to take Fennell's advice. By the end of 1937, despite the persistent dust storms, the amount of dangerously eroded land had been reduced by more than half. In 1938, the rainfall edged upward, more than 18 inches in Boise City, and although the number of dust storms receded only slightly, some farmers in no man's land brought in a wheat crop of 10 bushels per acre. Nothing close to a bumper crop, but almost bountiful compared to previous years. The drought seemed to be losing its grip.